All right, boys and girls, today we are going to be doing 5.3i, represent and solve multiplication of a whole number in a fraction that refers to the same whole using objects and pictorial models, including area models. This means that we are going to represent a whole number times of fractions. That means we're going to learn how to multiply whole numbers by fractions. In our first example, it says George ordered 4 hamburgers from Mickey D's for his family that each weigh 1/3 of a pound. How many pounds of hamburgers did George order? So we know that he ordered 4 hamburgers and each of them weighed 1/3. Each tells us that we can multiply or divide, and we want to know how many pounds. So how many pounds is telling us to find a total, and that means we are going to multiply. So we know that he had 4 hamburgers. We're going to show our 4 hamburgers using equal groups. So the first hamburger weighed 1/3 of a pound. That means we're going to just shade in 1/3 of this fraction. The second hamburger also weighed 1/3 of a pound. So we're going to shade in that 1/3. The third hamburger also weighed 1/3 of a pound. And the fourth hamburger also weighed 1/3 of a pound. So our picture represents 4 equal groups of 1/3. So this one is 1/3. This is 1/3. This is 1/3. And this is 1/3. So we know that multiplication is repeated addition. So we're adding the fraction 1/3 4 times, or we're multiplying 4 times 1/3. One-third plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 4/3. We know that 4/3 is an improper fraction, and in order to turn my improper fraction into a mixed number, I have to divide and turn my remainder into a fraction, right? So we're going to do that division right here in the corner. 4 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. We can subtract that now. 4 minus 3 is 1. Our remainder is 1, but we no longer use remainders in 5th grade. We turn that into a fraction. That goes on top, and our 3 goes on bottom. So we have 1 and 1/3. That means that George's hamburgers weighed 1 and 1/3 pounds. Okay, now we're going to represent this as an area model. We know that George had 4 hamburgers. So here's 1 hamburger, 2 hamburgers, 3 hamburgers, 4 hamburgers. And each hamburger weighs 1/3 of a pound. So that means this hamburger needs to be in thirds. This hamburger needs to be in thirds. This hamburger needs to be in thirds. And this hamburger needs to be in thirds. But we only want 1/3 of each of those. So we have 4 times 1/3. That we know that 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals our 1 and 1/3. Now we're going to learn how to solve this using algorithm. So we have 4 wholes times 1/3 of a pound. When we used our equal groups in our area model, we found out that 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equaled 4/3. So we're going to multiply these. When multiplying a whole number by a fraction, it's best to turn our whole number, so that would be our 4, into a fraction. And in order to turn my whole number into a fraction, all I'm going to do is take that fraction and put it over 1. Because we know that the fraction bar tells us to divide. So it would be like we're saying 4 divided by 1. And we know that 4 divided by 1 still equals 4. So the number does not change. It's still 4. So we have 4 over 1 times 1/3. And now we can multiply our fractions. When we multiply our fractions, we're going to multiply straight across. So we have 4 times 1, and that's 4. And 3 times 1 equals 3. And we learned over here in our equal groups that 4/3 as a mixed number is 1 and 1/3. So 4 times 1/3 equals 1 and 1/3. And now we're going to practice this on skip counting. So we know that we have 4 burgers, 4 whole hamburgers, and each one of them weighs 1/3 of a pound. Well, if you look at our number line here, we have 1, 2, 3 marks to get to a whole. So that means we have 1/3 here, we have 2/3 here. This would be 3/3, which would be 1 whole. This would be 4/3. This would be 5/3. This would be 6/3. 6 divided by 3 is 2 wholes. And there's our number line. We've numbered it from 0 to 2. But we need 4 hamburgers that weigh 1/3 each. So 1/3 here is 1 hamburger. 1/3 here is 2 hamburgers. Another third would be 3 hamburgers. And another third is our 4th hamburger. And we know that 4 1/3 pound hamburgers weighs 4/3, which also equals 1 whole and 1/3. Now we're going to solve the next one. It says jugs of milk at the dollar store come in half gallons. If Joanne purchases 5 jugs, how many gallons of milk does she buy? So Joanne goes to the store and she buys 5 jugs of milk. But we know that each milk comes in half gallons. So we want to know how many gallons. How many gallons is telling us that we are looking for a total, and that means we're going to multiply. So we want 5 groups of 1/2, right? So let's start with our equal groups. We have 5 groups of 1/2. So there's 3 groups, 4 groups, and 5 groups. We have 5 groups of 1/2 here. That means we have 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. That means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. And now we're going to use an area model to solve this problem. We know that we have 5 jugs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And each jug is 1/2 gallon. So this jug here has 2 parts, and we only need 1 of them. That gives us 1/2 of a gallon. This jug is also just 1/2 of the gallon. This jug is also 1/2 of the gallon. This jug is also 1/2 of the gallon. And this jug is also 1/2 of the gallon. So we have 5 jugs times 1/2 each. So we have 5 halves. Now we're going to solve this using our standard algorithm. We have 5 times 1/2. 5 jugs times 1/2 gallons. And we know in order to turn 5 into a fraction, we have to just take that 5 and put it over the number 1. 5 over 1 still equals 5. The number does not change when we put it over 1. It is the same exact number. So we have 5 times 1/2. And now we can just take our fraction and multiply straight across. So 5 times 1 equals 5. And 1 times 2 equals 2. So our fraction is 5 halves. We know that when our number on top of the fraction, our numerator, is bigger than our denominator, we have an improper fraction. And in order to turn our improper fraction into a mixed number, we have to take our numerator and divide it by our denominator. So we're going to divide 5 by 2. So 2 goes into 5 2 times, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now I can subtract. 5 minus 4 equals 1. 1 is our remainder, but in 5th grade we no longer have remainders. So our remainder is going to be our numerator, and our divisor is going to be our denominator. So 5 halves is equivalent to 2 and 1/2. Now we're going to take this problem and put it on a number line using skip counting. So we know that each gallon is worth 1/2. So we probably want our number line to be cut into halves. So 1/2. 2 halves would be 1 whole. Then we have 1 and 1/2. Then we have 2. We have 2 and 1/2. 3, 3 and 1/2, and 4. But we know that the jugs are 1/2 gallon each, and Joanne purchased 5 jugs. So this 1/2 represents 1 jug. This half represents 2 jugs. This half represents 3 jugs. This half represents 4 jugs. And this half represents 5 jugs. So 5 jugs of 1/2 gallon equals 2 and 1/2 gallons. Okay, boys and girls, you can glue this note sheet into your journals